Doug Petersen. Today we're launching a series on the CASTLE principles. The CASTLE principles were designed and developed by Dr. Lance Secretan. The first of the CASTLE principles we're going to discuss is courage. Lance's definition of courage is being brave enough to reach beyond the boundaries created by our existing, often deeply held limitations, fears, and beliefs. Initiating change in our lives of any kind is only possible when we are courageous enough to take the necessary action. What a powerful definition that is. Now, can you think of a situation in your life where you needed to be courageous? Maybe one of those situations is in a meeting and you needed to speak up. Or you wanted to ask a question, but you really didn't want to think that others may think it was a stupid or silly question. Another situation we find ourselves where we need to be courageous is a conversation with our spouse about the finances or family planning. All of those take courage. Let me share with you a little story how courage played an important role in my life. I was flying medical evacuation helicopter pilots and helicopters in Vietnam. And our mission was to extract wounded American soldiers out of the fields and out of the jungles of Vietnam and take them to a medical facility for treatment. As you can imagine, some of that fear was being shot at or being shot down. In fact, I was shot down twice while serving over in Vietnam. But courage allowed me and others, many others, to take the necessary action and push that fear aside and get the mission done. But we need courage in many other aspects of our life too. We need courage to tell the truth when it would be easier to tell a little white lie. You know, we need courage to remove the mask we find ourselves hiding behind and become authentic. You know, we need courage to push that fear and face that fear head on. You know, the great John Wayne said, "Courage is being scared to death, but you saddle up anyway." And being from Texas, I just love a good John Wayne quote. But you see, courage doesn't eliminate fear. Courage allows our actions to be greater than the fear that we face. Now, I'd like you to imagine a well-worn path. And that path has been traveled by so many others. And we find that that path was created by people that were not courageous. And we find ourselves in that same rut. We're following the path that others create. That rut is what I call the rut of conformity. But it takes courage to move out of that rut of conformity. It takes courage to come up with new ideas and create our own new path. So what holds us back from being courageous? Well, first is conflict avoidance. We simply don't want to get into an argument. Many of us don't like arguments. Well, there's some that do, but most avoid an argument. So we're looking for conflict avoidance. Second is lack of courage is following that path of others, that conformity rut that we find ourselves in. And lastly, fear of rejection or judgment. That's all ego-driven. We simply don't want others to think poorly of us, and we don't want to be rejected. But again, that's strictly just ego-driven. So, have you ever found yourself in any of those situations? How could courage change that situation today? What could you do if you could simply just push fear aside? Could you get out of that rut of conformity and create your own new path for others to follow? So here are some ideas on how you can become more courageous. First, take responsibility for your actions. Accepting responsibility is crucial. We can't blame others. Next, let your conscience be your guide. You know, it's that inner voice inside our soul that's telling us that we need to be courageous. And there's also a passion deep within our soul that fuels that courage once we bring it out. And last is practice courage. We can practice it a little bit at a time. We simply need to take some action. And it could be a small amount today. Perhaps it's just sitting down with the spouse and saying, we need to talk about the credit card. It takes courage. And the more times that you practice courage, the easier it will become the next day. Your courage will be viewed by others, and they will be inspired to find their courage within themselves. Aristotle said, courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees the others. Much, much in line with what Dr. Lance Secretan's definition was. So today, it's time for you to rediscover your own courage. If you're looking for change in your life, find the courage that is necessary to take the action. Now, I'd like you to imagine a stone archway, well, very similar to what is behind me in my fireplace. But at the peak of that stone archway is an oddly shaped stone called a keystone. And that keystone holds all the other stones and bricks in place without any other sense of any sort of mortar or anything on that line. And we will see how courage is the keystone of the other castle principles. You know, we need courage to be authentic. We need courage to serve others. We need courage to tell the truth. We need courage to love. And we need courage to be effective. So you can see how courage is the keystone of the castle principles. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you will take the time to view the other videos when they are available. Be courageous, and your life will change.